Welcome to another episode of BizTakeouts, Bizcommunity soundbite-sized news to go, made possible by the Friedrich Naumann Foundation in partnership with GreenCape, a non-profit organization that drives the widespread adoption of economically viable green economy solutions from South Africa. I'm your host, Angie White, and I'm so happy to introduce today's guest. Mike Mulcahy is the CEO of GreenCape, and Cecelia Kok is the Head Research and Advocacy Projects at FNF. And today they will be discussing greenshoots at grassroots in the green economy and why we should be concerned with growing the green economy in South Africa. Welcome, Mike and Cecelia.
Thanks so much, Angie.
Great. So, Mike, let me direct my first question to you. Given the challenging times of COVID-19, what have some of the green shoots at grassroots progress that you've seen in the green economy?
Yeah, thanks, Angie. I think when lockdown hit, SMEs were both the most vulnerable and the most reactive to looking for solutions. So GreenCape has worked with the European Union Commission in South Africa, the GIZ, and the Green Outcomes Fund, with a few other partners, to see if we could provide some direct financial support to these kind of SMEs, to see if we could get them through the lockdown, and really trying to apply a resilience mindset. So in the first instance, how do you help these SMEs survive? In the second instance, how do you help them adapt? And then finally, how do you help them thrive in a new environment? So we've worked now with the Green Outcomes Fund, which is a 500 million rand fund that's a blended finance facility with National Treasury putting some money in and 4 private sector partners putting some money in. And then we've provided direct support to those SMEs to see if we can get them through. I think sticking with SMEs, I also wanted to highlight the kind of global impact that we're seeing from COVID-19 and the sort of shutdowns related to COVID-19. GreenCape is a member of something called the International Clean Tech Network. It's a group of cluster organizations like GreenCape from 4 continents around the world. And collectively, we represent about 15,000 SMEs that are operating in the green economy. So as COVID hit and as the different country strategies for dealing with it began, we set up a system of engagements to try to help SMEs continue to trade and to continue to find global partners, even in the instance that they're unable to travel or unable to access the normal routes to market that they typically use. So we worked with a group called the Solar Impulse Foundation, and they've been providing labels to SMEs, so trying to increase the credibility of SMEs into global supply chains. And this has really been a few of the small little activities that we're starting to see that are happening at really a grassroots level that are starting to make SMEs more competitive, trying to find them new ways to access markets, and really trying to put them on the front foot. So as there is a relaxation and as there are stimulus packages and bailouts that are coming, particularly for infrastructure in the green economy, that these SMEs, and particularly the ones in South Africa, are really well placed to play a meaningful role in that recovery.
Great stuff. And while we're talking about recovery and building a better economy and making it easier for SMEs, could you share just a little bit about what it means to build back better? And Cecelia, maybe you can also just jump in and share your thoughts here as well.
Sure thing. So, I think the pandemic should really cause us to stop and think and take account of where we are and where we're going, and the factors that South Africa finds itself facing a variety of crises. And we just can't afford to go on as we have before. So, right now our expanded unemployment rate, which includes discouraged work seekers, lies at roughly 43%, which is a horrifying statistic. Only 2 in every 5 South Africans between the age of 25 and 34 are employed. It's just catastrophic. We also just have this mismatch between the skills deficit of our labor force and the employment opportunities that exist in our economy. Then, we've also got the fact that our economy relies very heavily on state-owned enterprises, and these are, to a very large extent, dysfunctional, debt and corruption-ridden, and they hinder any hope for a proper economic restart. And because many formal parts of the economy are just dominated by large and concentrated players, and that undermines competitiveness significantly. And we also have a major lack of regulatory uncertainty. We have a major lack of investment, and we have an informal sector which should be smaller, and an SME sector which should be much larger. In line with international trends, which is around where SMEs basically offer about 70% of employment. In South Africa, it's under 30%. And both these sectors are very precariously placed, and they're not formalizing and they're not stabilizing. So I think the thing is that we need to fundamentally reconceptualize the economy in ways that are going to address these sort of structural problems. And it's about having a stable regulatory environment which enables informal and small businesses to establish and grow. We obviously also have to rationalize state-owned enterprises and encourage competition across the economy, especially in the sectors where there's currently domination by these SOEs, especially in energy. And we need to start using state resources in efficient public-private partnerships to basically invest in infrastructure. And the thing is, the green economy is intricately connected to a number of the initiatives that I've mentioned. It would produce efficient and clean energy in a competitive market. It would be providing employment opportunities for small businesses, and I think especially importantly in South Africa, for low skilled and unskilled individuals, which make up a greater proportion of the unemployed in South Africa. So ultimately, the green economy is about competitive, inclusive, localized, decentralized initiatives, and it stands to have an enormous impact, on the country, but also on very localized communities, and especially ones that are rural and are currently disenfranchised and disconnected, or not well connected to economic centers. But ultimately, I think what we need to do is, really relook at the entire structure of our economy. We need to break up monopolies and vested interests and do away with regulatory uncertainties. And we just need to make way for basically a sustainable, decentralized, competitive, and clean economy.
Definitely. I mean, my next question, I think you've pretty much answered it, but I don't know if you want to share any more thoughts about what the significance would be of growing the green economy for South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, there's a worldwide transition towards green economies across developed and developing countries. And it's, based or driven by environmental and climate change goals, but also very importantly, also driven by economic and social benefits that the green economy brings with it. So, among the key features is that traditional energy, was based on huge infrastructure and highly concentrated production, and it was just generally, as I said, was dominated by very few players, and the job opportunities there were limited. But the green economy is exactly the opposite of that. It's decentralized, it's competitive, it's local, it's inclusive, and it's open to a greater range of skills. And far more employment opportunities. It's also very versatile and flexible. And I think what we've seen, over the last couple of decades is that, green technology has become, and just it continues to become, far more efficient and cost-effective than traditional solutions. And that's the thing, is the economic case is so clear. So I think also, in addition to those points, we're going into a world where major economies, major trading partners of ours are going to be adopting green standards, and we need to match those standards. So if we want to export, we have to adhere to certain green standards. Otherwise, we're sort of, again, disconnected from the world economy. So I think, in a nutshell, the economic, the social, the environmental benefits of going green are just indisputable, and now South Africa basically needs to do as much as it possibly can to enable a transition to a green economy. It's become extremely urgent. Yeah, certainly, and the urgency has been exacerbated by this pandemic.
Definitely, couldn't agree more. And while we're talking about building the green economy, what have been some of the projects that FNF are supporting towards this?
Well, we are extremely lucky to be partnering with GreenCape in the field of the green economy, and so basically we've supported a lot of GreenCape's initiatives. Just some of the highlights have been the GreenCape's As Do project, which is the alternative service delivery unit. Basically, we're supporting the development and the implementation of the provision of energy to unserviced and actually unserviceable communities. So basically to some of the poorest and most disenfranchised communities in South Africa. And this is done based on 3 pillars. It's social inclusion. So there's an element of co-design with the community affected. There's customized technical design, which means the appropriate technology is being used, and it's appropriate for the context, for the needs, for the affordability within the area. Again, the third pillar is financial sustainability. And we've also hosted a number of sort of Shark Tank pitching initiatives, which have been really fun. It's been the Green Pitch sort of annual event in the past couple of years, where we award green entrepreneurs with big business support prizes, as well as quite a bit of publicity. So that's been a really fun initiative. We've also very recently launched the digital green directory, and this can be found at www.greendirectory.co.za. And this is basically a one-stop shop for all kinds of support services and opportunities for green SMMEs. So from research and development to incubation and acceleration to challenges and conferences. Basically the directory is this intuitive, user-friendly, easy to access, free of charge platform for green SMEs. Because green SMEs, as we know, face a very difficult and challenging environment, and we just wanted to make it easier for them to access whatever services they are available to support them.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Cecelia. Coming back to you, Mike, I forgot about you. GreenCape has recently celebrated 10 years. Congratulations. Can you tell us what some of the highlights have been and what is the core mission moving into the future?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, we turned 10 this year. The kind of major metrics that GreenCape wants to focus on are employment creation and investments. We've chosen to focus on those really because the green economy in a developing world context needs to be economically competitive. There's so many competing priorities: healthcare, education, gender-based violence. There's so many competing priorities in a developing world context that if we're going to advance the green economy and to build an economy that's lower carbon, more resource efficient, and more socially inclusive, we have to really be concentrated on the bits that are inherently economically viable today. So over the last 10 years, we have been involved in about 41 billion rand worth of projects, creating about 19,000 jobs. So the team is pretty proud. I think some of the standout projects are we were involved in setting up the Renewable Energy Technology Center at CPT. That's training wind and solar operation and maintenance technicians in South Africa to a global standard. Yeah, we launched the first green outcomes fund in the world. We set up a green tech focused special economic zone in Atlantis. I think the work that we've done in small scale embedded generation, particularly in energy, has been very close to my heart. And then I think recently with the drought response that we helped with here in Cape Town, there's been a tremendous amount of learning about how to coordinate to respond to these sorts of events. And I think that both the energy crisis and the drought crisis have helped certainly us as an organization to prepare and understand how to intervene when when there are these acute crises or chronic stresses. Then I think from a personal perspective, being invited to join the International Clean Tech Network as the first African member of this global network was really a great achievement. And then most recently, GreenCape's been asked, I've been asked to chair that network. So that's been really fun. But actually, I think the thing that I'm most sort of proud of is to see where the GreenCape staff are making their impacts. So as a team, we're doing a tremendous amount of work, but some of the ex-GreenCapers, colleagues that have moved on, are working in places like the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Tesla, senior roles in national government or provincial governments, and very senior roles in the private sector. And I think for me, that's really making a contribution to the long-term drive of the green economy. I think if we are going to use this opportunity that we've been given through basically another global crisis to consider how we want to restructure our economies, and if we can try to use that to build back a little bit better, to be a bit more thoughtful on how we include previously disadvantaged groups and how we structure an economy to reduce inequality. And I think, we have a real shot at building back better. And I know that those are all backwards looking stats from the last 10 years, but I'm pretty excited to see what we can achieve in the next 10 years.
Yeah, as we all are, I'm sure. It sounds like there's a lot of exciting things to come. Well, thank you so much to both of you for sharing your time with me today, and for all the insights. That brings us to the end of another show, with thanks to the Friedrich Naumann Foundation and GreenCape for making it possible. It's BizTakeouts. Take it where you like it, when you like it, how you like it. See you soon.